Highs. It works. Good to see you guys. Glad you're here. It's the middle of the week. Why don't we stand and sing our songs? We're going to sing two of them, and we're going to pray, and we're going to raise. That's all about me. We're going to start with Our God is Alive. Both of them.
All right, come on.
There is beyond the attribute
a God who's in the human side. He takes his skies with heavenly view and frames the world with his great mind. There is a God, he is alive. In him we live and we survive. From the start God created man. He is our God. The great I am. There was a long, long time ago a God whose voice the prophets heard. He is the God that we should know, who speaks from his inspired word. There is a God, he is alive, in him we live and we survive. From the start, God created man. He is our God, the great I am. Secure is life from mortal mind. God holds the germ within his hand. Though men they search, they cannot find. For God alone does understand. There is a God, he is alive. In him we live and we survive. From the start, God created man. He is our God, the great I am. Our God who shone upon a tree, a life was willing there to give, that he from sin might set men free, and evermore with him could live. There is a God, he is alive. In him we live and we survive. From the start, God created man. He is our God, the great I am. There is a God. He is alive. In him we live and we survive. From the start, God created man. He is our God, the great I am.
Good job. Hi.
Way to do it perfect.
One more in you? The answer is no.
Good evening, everybody. How we doing?
Good.
Doing good?
Yeah.
You gonna lead a song? Oh, I could lead a song, but you want to hear it. So tonight is a special night. Of course, you see the screen, the kids on there, try to figure all the things out. So definitely bear with us. But is there anybody want to share any kind of highs or lows of the week so far? Any highs or lows, or just something that God is doing you prayed for?
I have a high.
Go ahead.
I'm back home. Thank you so much. I'm back.
Amen.
It's good to be back. India sends their love. John Whitfield sends his love from Sri Lanka. Thank you so much.
Bring any food back too or no?
Huh?
Bring any food back? No food?
I plead the fifth.
Anybody else? Any highs and lows? Just great news. Yes.
I had a very, that very simple answered prayer. I was out flying for work, and I'm lucky because I work nights, and then I can sleep in, and I'm fully rested, and I have all this time where I'd have to try not to have time to pray. And so I'm like, well, what do I have ahead of me today? What can I do that's good? And I'm like, well, here's something. Let me share my faith with my co-pilot, And didn't think much about it, it was just a quick prayer. And then, we just had this very natural time talking. And I don't even know how it came up. And then he's just like, why don't you tell me how you became a Christian? And we had all this time, and, we talked and just sort of bonded and everything. And then afterwards, like, yeah, there it is, right there, check. That one got answered pretty easy. So, but yeah, that doesn't happen often when somebody just totally just goes, all right, just tell me your whole story about how you became, which of course I like to do.
Wow. So, unfortunately, we got to begin. So I'm going to pray, and then we're going to begin our presentation. All right? Mighty God, we say thank you so much just for this time, this day, this hour, this minute, this second. Lord, we pray to the God that can do the impossible. Help us, Lord, with the impossible. Help us, Lord, to see what you can do, to feel what you can do. Help us understand, mighty God, that even in our lack of faith or little faith, that we can have faith in you. Help us, mighty God, to see, to understand your miracles, to write them down. Help us, mighty God, to soak it all in, Lord, to block out any junk, any mess that we had today, Lord, and allow you to fill us up. Amen. Mighty God, we love you and we thank you. In Christ we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. So hold tight, everybody. Hold tight. All right.
We got this rhythm of preaching, and then he's and then it's a rhythm, and then you have an interpreter, and so that was pretty cool. When I was in Honduras, that was a prison tour, so it was 7 prisons in Honduras, and golly, it's been a minute, but I know we had interpreters. But anyway, I say all that to say no, I'm the lazy American who has not learned the language, and I apologize.
No, just a question.
Well, but it is kind of disrespectful because it made me feel guilty. Thanks a lot. But I really should make an effort. But then I feel awkward. You know what I'm saying? But I think about all the beautiful Latino brothers and sisters. They make an effort. It's like they're going to try with whatever English they can do. And I'm like, man, that's what I should do. Just go ahead and try. So I'll commit to you, but I'll try to do it.
No, you're doing it. Yeah.
All right, Kit, we ready?
You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. So do we have connection? I don't see the all the brothers and sisters, but
Yeah, they are.
long
They
as they're
can
good.
see you. Unfortunately, you can't see them right now.
Okay, no worries at all. And I'm going to do this, as is my custom with this program. I'm going to invite you to turn your screen on. And you don't have to, but I'm going to invite you to. And then if you choose not to, exercise your right not to turn on your screen, then I will respect that. So anyway, come on, join us if you would like. So what's up, everybody? There's the audience. I see everybody. Man, it's great to see y'all. It's great to see y'all. I'm so grateful. I was telling Scott, I bragged about you guys all week, and I just have been looking forward to this. This is a highlight. I was also telling, just for the brothers in the congregation and sisters there, on Wednesdays, I drive 3 hours down to the juvenile prison, do my thing all afternoon, and then drive 4 hours back, and then I come straight to my office and get ready to do this. And so there's a couple things about that. One, it's been a long day, and which is fine, because when I'm spent, I tend to rely on the Spirit more. So, that's always kind of cool. But I have all this stuff on my heart. So the first 5 minutes of every session is therapy. I just tell you about my day and tell you about what happened, because it's always something new. So
So anyway, Eastman is the name of the juvenile prison. I've been there for 18 months, and it has taken all of those 18 months to win these boys, to win their hearts and minds. And it's been gradual along the way, but then guys go home and new guys come in. You know, the Bloods have all the numbers, and then guys go home. A bunch of Crips come in. It's just like, it's crazy. Today, when 2 dorms were on their way down to my class, I'm standing out the door, and they're coming down. 2 of those jokers getting a fight on the way to the peace class. So that was kind of disappointing. So they didn't get to come. They put them both behind the door. So, because they don't let the dorms get close to one another. So these dorms kind of were all walking together, these 2 dorms, and they don't ever get close to each other. Well, if one guy wants to get after another guy, then they're going to take their best shot. This is the only time they can get to him. And so, you know, we got work to do. So, but anyway, I've been cranking away. But the biggest battle I fight is against the administration. So it's not the kids. It's like, man, it's just, they oppose everything. And this doesn't matter because if you have a ministry, and hopefully all of us have a ministry, I want you to learn to attack it with prayer and have an attitude, whatever it is. You know, these impossible prayers, whatever you're trying to battle through, whether it be a marriage thing or a character thing or a health thing or a money thing or a kids thing or whatever it is, just with a childlike heart, but a diligent spirit. And that's what God's taught me, because I always quit things my whole life until I found this, and I found my passion. And so they always try to get rid of me, and I just keep on coming until I can win them. But these jokers are hard to win. And so see how I'm doing therapy? So my contract is coming up for renewal at the end of June. And I never know what the heck's going on, because they're having meetings about me and all this stuff, because people tell. And so I had a very important meeting yesterday with the commissioner of the Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice about the work and about my new contract. And so I got people on Facebook praying about it, and I just want to tell you, it went extremely well. Not only is she renewing the contract, but expanding my role, giving me a big raise, taking it to another prison. And so, yesterday was a good day. But it's, you know, I want to encourage you, if you've got a tough ministry that you're trying to figure out, trying to grow a ministry, trying to get some folks to re-engage, to come back, trying to go out and try to, you know, connect with those who have wandered, you know, go at it, man, with all your heart. Get creative, man. Don't give up. Don't get comfortable. And that's the best thing about this ministry is I always have to create new ways. That 3 hours down there, I'm thinking about my strategy. And today, and now I'm going to move on into the lesson, there's 2 kids that I have to win. And one of them is he's the most powerful kid in the camp. The last leader left, I won him, and then I connected with him out in the free world. So this guy raised up, and luckily I've known him for 18 months. And today, I mean, he's a big, scary dude, and he runs things. Not scary. I mean, he's a big kid. Let's say that. He's very serious. He can put fear in you if he wants to. And so today was the day he pulled me aside. He said, hey, I believe this program could be a stepping stone for me. Would you help me? Like, I'm trying to get an early release. And I said, I got you, bro. Give me a reason. I need you, bro. You gonna help me? And so we kind of put together a little thing. I said, I got you. I promise I'll stand up for you. In my world, that was a huge day. Okay, the commissioner yesterday, but today I finally have won the heart and the mind of the gang leader, you know, that has the most power. That's kind of my, you know, day-to-day ministry. So there you go. Okay, so let's jump in. The process. I'm gonna keep, at the beginning of every session, I'm going to remind you about the process, and there's a reason there are steps. People generally like steps. The reason Alcoholics Anonymous is so powerfully effective is because they have steps, and then we help one another. You know what I'm saying? They're very spiritual steps, but a lot of times, if things are just kind of general and vague, and you have no real direction, you got no real plan, I'm just going to study my Bible, and I'm going to talk to God for a while, and then I'll try to see if there's somebody out there today that I can be nice to and invite them to church. Try to stay out of sin, be a good husband. All of that's important. But if there's no strategy, and so what we're going to do for the next 40 days is give you a step-by-step strategy, and I want to invite you to try it. If you decide you're not ready for it, don't do it. I'd rather you not do it if you're not ready for it. But if you're ready for something new, and you're like, why not, man? I got nothing to lose. 40 days. You can do anything for 40 days. Try it. The steps are very, very powerful. They go in a logical order. Hit your knees first thing, out of bed, onto your knees, just say whatever you want to say to God, go do what you do. You establish a connection first thing. Go to your journal and review your impossible prayers and add to them when God puts something on your heart that you go, man, this is something I got to work on. I want to remind you, this is, in a lot of ways, this is a selfish program. You know, you can continue to pray for all the people you pray for. Don't stop. But I need you to create some space where those 10 impossible prayers or 20 or however long you do, that those are things that are going to take you to another place. Okay, everybody, this is a time to dig deep in yourself, because a lot of times we focus on others like we should, and we neglect ourselves, and then we get stuck. You know what I'm saying? Maybe nobody here, but I have. And then you're going to carry those with you throughout the day. When you review the steps in the morning, Uncle G, who I'm going to tell you about, he carries in front of mind. Now we're now we're ready to start finding some miracles, because you've got something that you've got in your brain to start looking for on your behalf. Instead of looking for things to worry about, because you've been doing that a lot, he's going to start looking for miracles and signs. Uncle G is 3.5 pounds of gray fatty matter teeming with electromagnetic energy and chemistry. It's 100 billion neurons connected in 4 quadrillion ways. That's a real number. So every one of those 100 billion neurons is connected to 5,000 other ones. It's a number that's so big, it's stupid. And so you've got this 3.5 pound universe, and yours is unique because ever since you came into the world, you have been observing and you've been making decisions, and your brain has been wiring itself to do life the way that you do it. What's safe, what's not safe, who's with me, who's not, who I gotta be careful of, who am I, where do I fit in, where do I belong, who are my people, what do I believe, okay. Now, on top of that, everything you looked at today, everything. If you looked at Facebook, at financial reports, you looked at the Bible, you watched some TV, whatever, Uncle G clocked every bit of it, and he also clocked everything that you're not paying attention to. He's a super freak technological miracle that can do basically anything. We're not sure. He might be unlimited. The reason I call him Uncle G, he's the original Google. What do we use Google for? To find us things. Ask a question, you get an answer. If you put babe in the search string, don't do this, not good things are gonna come up. If I put Ruth right after babe, I'm gonna get candy bars and baseball. Okay, the quality of the information depends on the quality of the question. Okay, so I'm in charge of designing my brain today. God gave me that. Brain's not supposed to do me, I'm supposed to do him, all right? He's supposed to follow me. Uncle G's the original Google. I dare you to try this. Take one question, I write down questions for Uncle G. So I'm doing questions for my own brain. What can I do today to be the best husband I can be? And then let it go. Don't sit there and work on it. Don't think about it. Don't try to, let it go. Just put it in the search string and watch what happens. Sometimes during the day, Uncle G's gonna tap you and say, hey, why don't you write her a letter and tell her why you love her? And you're like, dang, that sounds like game. Let's do that. And so what did he do? Uncle G's the original Google, okay? He's also the original GPS. How in the world, when I was in Baltimore, I gotta go ahead and confess something. When I left y'all on Saturday night, my GPS stopped working with my rental car. I mean, it's never happened before. It's like, and I'm on one of y'all's million highways around the Beltline or whatever you call that thing. I'm not familiar with Baltimore. And so I don't know where I'm going. It's rainy, it's dark, I'm in a city I'm not around. I can't find a place to exit because every exit is a highway and I'm just freaking lost. And I thought, how in the world did I get anywhere before GPS? I have no idea how I ever got anywhere, but we figured it out, right? We dashed directions, we had that big old fat book that we had to look at. So anyway, GPS, all I've got to do is put in a coordinate, an address, and then hit go, and then I listen to this nice lady direct me. Take a right, take a left, exit now. And all I got to do is pay attention. Uncle G is the original GPS. Why do we write down our impossible prayers? Because you're programming the GPS. And this is not science versus faith. No, I love science because it helps me understand how God designed things. He gave me a brain for a reason, not just to memorize things and spurt them out. He wants us to work on it and let that brain serve you. And so write down your goals and your dreams and your impossible prayers and keep on looking at them every day. What you're doing is you're programming your brain to look for things on your behalf. I dare you to try it. If you're not ready, don't do it. But it works. But number 3, he's the original gangster if you don't pay attention to him. Okay? He will run things and tell the same stories today that he told yesterday. Same 10,000, 15,000 words, same 50,000 thoughts over and over and over, and we'll wonder why we don't change. We haven't given our brain any new information. We're not directing Uncle G, go find me, ... And so I started working on this years ago. Then I started teaching it to kids and to prisoners, and I just got into it. I told you I like games, and so this is a game, but I dare you to try it. This thing right here, Uncle G is the learning machine. He learned a lot today by what you paid attention to. He was listening to all your thoughts. He was paying attention to what you worry about, what you're afraid of. He was paying attention to what gets your attention, what makes you laugh, what makes you feel good. Tomorrow, he's going to find more of the same if you don't redirect him. That's how we can get into a rut and really go downhill, and I know what that feels like. And so you've got to be really intentional. He's a learning machine, and lastly, he's a storyteller. That joker just tells stories. That's what the brain does. All day long, he's telling stories. You get involved in the conversation, or just listen to him talk about all this stuff and stay where you are. But when you start getting involved in the conversation, that's why memorizing scripture, having mantras, if you quit a lot, well, then start saying this all the time. I always finish strong. 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 You feel me? What I'm doing right now is programming my brain to say, no, I don't quit. So whatever your weakness is, start helping Uncle G. Now I'm going to put little tips out there each week, and we're going to, over 40 days, that's enough to reprogram your brain and break bad habits and establish new ones. They say 30 days, I added 10 because I like 40. It's a number of transformation, but it's also a number of trial and testing. So over these 40 days, we're going to be transforming, but we're going to be testing and trying new things, okay? Everybody cool? It's a program of progress, not perfection. And it's a program of attraction, not promotion, all right? So I'm inviting you to join us. I'm not saying do it. Don't do it. I dare you not do it. But you're going to miss out on a lot of good stuff. And when you mess it up, don't make a big drama out of it. Just jump back on. I'm going to remind you, we're going to set aside our guilt and shame for 40 days. You can always pick it up and go back to being that if you want to. But when you mess up, you're going to feel guilt and shame jump on you, and you're going to have to put it aside and say, no, not right now. Quarantine, delete, replace. That's what we do with thoughts. Paul said, take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. That means you got to be paying attention. And when something comes into your head that is not what needs to be there, we can dwell on it, and it goes and gathers a bunch of friends and becomes a mood, and then it becomes a state, and then it becomes part of your personality. You don't want that. But if you jump on it right away, quarantine, delete, replace with a new thought, okay? So that's what we're going to do over the next 40 days. If you do the daily, which is go to day 1, you've already done it, read the miracle passage, Abraham, right? And start with him. Read my little commentary. I'll give you a little challenge. And then just start your prayer to God with penmanship, old school. People say, have you got an app? I'm like, I don't want one. I want people to remember that writing is powerful. So go ahead and just talk to God or write down signs and then do the daily. Each step, and then we'll get together at the end of it every week and we'll discuss and we'll lay down a new track. Okay, let's turn over to the end of week 1 if you want to, or you can just listen along. But at the end of every week, we're going to look at a question that Jesus asked. And I kind of got fascinated with this. And questions are powerful. And think about in so many of Jesus' interactions, he asked questions. And he already knew the answers to all of them. But he asked the question to bring out what was in our heart. Okay? So these questions are powerful. So every week we're going to look at a different question that Jesus asked, and then we're going to draw things from it. So the first one comes out of John 5. And just listen to it like you never heard it. Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there was in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." And once the man was cured, he picked up his mat and he walked. The day on which this took place was the Sabbath. And so the Jewish leaders said to the man who had been healed, "It is the Sabbath. The law forbids you to carry your mat." There's so much in this passage, man. So Jesus is drawn to the least of these. Always. This seems to be his first stop. Every time he comes to town, he's being drawn to his people. I'm going to continue to challenge you and invite you to go spend time with the least of these. You figure out how. Just make sure it's not dangerous. If you want to go and try to take care of some homeless, make friends. Ask them their name. Ask them where they're from. Ask them questions like real people instead of throwing money at them. You'll be amazed. You'll meet angels. He was drawn to the least of these. This was a place where people put their family that they couldn't take care of anymore. It's like, man, we can't do it. So they just go and imagine the scene. Jesus is drawn to it because there are needs. He's drawn to needs. And don't think he doesn't see you, because really he's not drawn to the rich young ruler. Rich young ruler came and stopped Jesus, and he's always got time for somebody that wants something from him. But he's drawn to the people who know they have needs: blindness, the lame, the crippled, the mute, the deaf, the dead. He's drawn to needs. What is your need? Like, what is your deepest desire? Maybe you hadn't thought about that in a long time. What is it that you need? If he's coming through your town, and there are crowds, and it's crazy because he's the world's first true rock star, and somehow, some way, he stumbles across you, and you look into his face. Can you imagine? Can you imagine looking into his eyes? He says the eyes are the lamp of the soul. It's the window to the soul, the lamp of the body. If the eyes are full of light, can you imagine the light that was in Jesus' eyes? How kind and how, I got something that popped up on my screen. Hold on a second. There we go. All right, I'm back. Apologies. Can you imagine the compassion in his eyes? Can you imagine the love in his eyes? Can you imagine the brightness in his eyes? Can you imagine the sternness of his eyes? Can you imagine indignation in his eyes? It depended on what he was feeling. But when someone comes to him with a need, he says, "Jesus, I want to see." Now, this guy, he was just hanging out. Jesus was drawn to him. He didn't Jesus. And so he looks around and he assesses what's going on. Somehow he finds out that this guy has been an invalid for 38 years. We don't know how long he's been in the pool, but it sounds like he's been a lot. Jesus is about to ask a question that we're going to ask ourselves tonight. He comes and he finds him. He looks at him and he says, "Do you want to get well?" Okay, if that's all he said. Do you want to get well? It seems like kind of a stupid question, but it's not. Because look what it brings out of the guy's heart. It brings out excuses, complaints, and blaming. He's like, "I can't because they get in first. Ain't nobody gonna help me, so I can't do it." Jesus didn't ask any of that. He just said, "Do you want to get well?" That's all I want to know. I'm not asking you about getting into the pool. I'm not asking you competing with all these other dudes. I'm saying right now, right here, do you want to get well? And then the guy didn't answer. And then Jesus said, "Get up," and there's an exclamation point. I'm not sure how, the writers of the Bible knew where to put it, but for some reason it put some tone in it. And he said, "Get up, take your mat, split." And he did, and he goes on his way. But we read farther, we find out this dude, he wasn't ready to be well yet. He took his new legs and went up to the temple courts and got into something. I don't know what it was, but Jesus finds him the next day and says, "Hey, stop. This is going to get worse for you if you don't stop. Man, I gave you your legs back. What you going to do with them?" I mean, think about that. And so I want you to kind of pump the brakes when Jesus says, "Do you want to get well?" And don't answer yet, because you're going to Show yourself and God your answer over the next 40 days by the way you behave. I don't mean behave. I'm talking about your heart, how much you're willing to put into this, how honest you're going to get, how determined are you to find what it is you're looking for. Are you willing to take steps so that he'll meet you? See, a lot of times people say, yeah, I want to get well. Come on, man, fix my marriage. I want to get well. Do I want to get well? Good Lord, yes, I do. Why are you asking me that, Jesus? You know the answer. And he's like, be careful. Wellness carries responsibility. All right, this guy, who knows? Jesus gave him legs, and if God would say, yes, please make me well, Jesus says, stand up. And then he's like some of the other guys. He goes, let me go with you. And Jesus says, no, I want you to stay here. You know all these guys. They know you. It's time for you to start doing some serving. Everybody's been serving you, and you've just been cantankerous and mean. It's time for you to start loving some people. So he didn't say he wanted to get well. I'm going to ask you, do you really want to get well? Because if you're a husband and you say, hey, heal my marriage, I think he's going to say, absolutely, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to treat her like a queen. I want you to serve her. I want you to love what she loves. I want you to make her feel beautiful. I want you to put her needs above yours. I want you to start doing things with her that you haven't done. I want you to start pouring into the romance if it's not there. And then all of a sudden, the dude's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't say I wanted all that. I said, I do want you to fix my marriage. It doesn't work like that. You reap what you sow. And I use marriage because, shoot, I mean, when I tell you the real story here in a couple weeks, it was dead. My second marriage, dead. Call the attorney, run it back. We're doing it again, dead. Start looking for apartments, dead. My second one. And I'm like, I really am going to be Paul. That's what I'm going to do. I messed up another one. And then God said, do you want to get well? And finally, I was in a place to say, yes, please, make me well. And he started calling me to do things. I started doing them. And then I got hooked on them. And then I fell in love again. Okay, so whatever it is, those impossible prayers, I want you to ask that question, do I really want this? Because wellness carries responsibility. If he heals you, he's going to want you to help heal others. If he makes you strong, he wants you to go and strengthen others. If he fixes your relationship, he wants you to go and help others mend theirs. It's not just to fix me and then I get the hang. So, do you know your illness? Do you know what you should ask? This is an important time to ask that question. As you look over your impossible prayers, ask God to reveal what you need to put down. Create some new ones. Ask him. Just say, I do want to be well, but I don't know what needs to be healed. Because Jesus is going to touch you where it hurts. And if you're not ready to be healed, if you're not ready for a little bit of pain, then just go ahead and say, I'm not ready to get well yet. Because every major change costs something. Well, you reap what you sow. If you want a big change, there's going to be some big discomfort in the beginning. It's going to be hard because you hadn't done it. Uncle G's fighting you, trying to hold on to the old habits. That's what God tells him to do. But after about 30 days, he lets go. He says, all right, boss, there's a new habit. And you have now broken one that wasn't serving you, and you've picked up one that's going to help heal you. You want to get well. Be careful with the answer. What's your one thing? I'm going to tell you tonight the story of this kid, Marquez, that I told you about. So this ministry it's endless. I mean, every week is different. Every day, no day is the same. We're in the schools and the courts and the prisons because no day for these kids is the same. It's always interesting. But it helps me. And so in the circles that I do at Eastman, it's always interesting when you see new kids come in. Because almost every new kid that shows up, unless he's connected, he's going to get beat on. I mean, it's just what it is. That's what it does. And so it is a scary thing to come into this prison because that's how these boys do. That's just the way they do it. I don't care if he's a blood and he's coming into a dorm with a bunch of bloods. They're going to beat up this blood for a while and just get him where they want him to be. And so that's a scary place to be. And so I'm trying to stop all that. Well, one day this kid comes in, he's brand new in the camp, and I always watch these boys and try to learn, and I start seeing how they treat him. and they treated him with respect. I mean, like, he didn't have no problem when he got there. He went into the F1, which is the Thunderdome, and they call it that because they're proud of it. I mean, it's the one, you better be scared living there. And I've been working on those boys for 18 months, and now they're my guys, okay? Won that guy's heart, man, the big guy that we connected with today, finally. And so I saw Marquez, and I looked across at him, and that dude looked right through me. He was 18 at the time, and I'm talking about his eyes told the whole story. He ain't afraid of nothing. And he sees me and I see him. I've learned how to look at a man. You know, you can't look too long, you can't be afraid, you can't look away. I mean, there's kind of a law on the streets. And so I looked at him and I saw him and he saw me. And then I gave it, you know, kept doing my thing. And so he clocked me for about 3 weeks, and he would just watch me with those eyes, and he wouldn't say much. And then I told my story. And I told the story of the drunken fallen preacher. Because the new guys need to know, man, I'm not somebody coming in here trying to fix you. Man, I'm damaged goods. But look what God can do. And so that day, he raised his hand. Well, he raised his hand, but when I was, you know, letting them talk, he said, and he said it a different way, but he goes, now I mess with you. Now I mess with you. And I was like, why? He said, because you might not know where we come from, but you know pain. And we know pain. You got my respect. He said it in front of everybody. And I'm like, oh, this is special. So I started carving out time for him, and I would just come over and chat him up in between the groups. I'd go over and mess with him, and I'd start building a friendship. And because he's he's like a young boss. He's been down a couple of years, and he's been in and out. His mom was 14 when he was born. He tells the story. He says, we're more best friends than we are mother and son. And so at the age of 12, I hit the streets, started hustling, because I had to help feed the family. My mom couldn't do it by herself. And so at 12 years old, this kid has to grow up into a grown man and go out into those streets and find himself. Well, the one that everybody wanted to be like in the neighborhood is the drug dealer, because he's got the cars and the flash and the cash and the girls and everything that the kid wants. And he comes to his ball games. He takes him out to lunch. He puts a little money in his pocket when he's a little fella. And so Marquez said, hey, the first day he came and gave me a package and said, hey, run it down the street to so-and-so and don't look in it. Why would I not do it? This is the only man that cares about me. He was a strong male role model. And he told me, he said, I decided when I was a kid I wanted to be him. And so he got jumped into the gang at 13. He became a blood. He worked those streets. I asked him, I said, okay, so when you were 13, you know, how much money did you have in your pocket just on an average day? 13, he goes, like $2,500. And I was like, at 13, he's like, yeah, I mean, I made about 1,000 a week, something like that. And you know, 50,000 a year. So I said, let me get this straight. When the police is chasing you at 13, you make more than the cop that's chasing you, he said. So how's a little kid gonna say no to gangs? He's like, what? I mean, he supports his family. So he grows up and he basically becomes that guy in a very young sense. Now the OGs are young. We got 19, 20, 21 years old OGs, and that's never happened before. So anyway, fast forward. So we're standing out in the yard, and you know, we're doing this slip and slide thing. And I'm standing there in the sun. I said, what you trying to do? And he said, what do you mean? I said, when you go home, what are you trying to do? And he thought about it for a second. He goes, I want to be you. And I was like, what does that mean? He goes, I want to do what you do. And I said, what is that? He said, motivational speaker. I said, I'm not a motivational speaker, but you want to do what I do? I said, what do you want to do to get that? You want to connect with me? He goes, bet, I'll do it. And I said, all right. And then I told him on that day, and I'm going to tell you the same thing I told him. I said, you got a superhero inside of you? And he goes, what you mean? I said, you ever been a hero on the streets? He goes, yes. I mean, he's not afraid to die for what he believes in. I admire that about these kids. They don't lie to me, and they're not afraid to die for what they believe in. We can start with that. And so I said, you're going to have to find a superhero inside of you, bro, because what you're about to try to do is very hard to do, because he's going back to the streets where there's a gang war, and he's got a price on his head. All right, the day he walks out of prison, he's got a $50,000 hit on him from the rival gang. He lost 8 of his friends in one summer. 8 of his friends murdered in one summer because of the war that's going on in this town called Columbus. So he's going back to that. And I'm like, you want to get out of that? He's like, yes. I'm like, all right, I'm there for you. And so go ahead and put up that first picture if you would. Do the one that, that I said was first with the mask. We're going to do a little show and tell. And I promise you, this will apply to what we're talking about. In case you're wondering if I just like telling gangster stories all the time, which I do, but there's a point. All right. Who's working my pictures? We good? Okay, well, I'll keep going. All right, so the first day, not the first day, but as soon as he got out, I drove 2 hours down to Columbus because I always tell these boys, when you get out, if you hit me up, I will drive to your town. We'll go out and eat wherever you want to, and then I'll take you to Dick's and we'll buy some shoes. I always do it respectfully. I don't know if you need them. I just want to give them to you. So I give them like a $150 limit or something, and we go to a sporting goods and they get to get some shoes. Man, it's a big deal to them. And then I'll come home and hug your family. So that's kind of the promise. So we go down there and we meet. And whenever the pictures get ready, just pop them up and I'll do it. But we go down there to meet, and he wants to go to a seafood restaurant. I'm like, cool. So we go down there and we're eating, and he's kind of got his head on his swivel a little bit, and he goes, hey, are you cool being here with me? And I'm like, man, I love it. I'm loving this. He goes, no, you don't understand. If they find out I'm here, they will come in and shoot up this place, and they will not care about you. And I said, all right, okay, that's cool. So we eat. Afterwards, we go out in the parking lot, and I have a picture to show you that. And I want to get selfies. And so we're hanging out and getting selfies. And he's like, bro, I got to go. I'm like, let's get one more. And he goes, bro, I got to go. And so he's worried about being out on the street. That's where we started. Okay, I'm dying if we can't get the pictures, but it's okay. I'm not gonna be mad, but I'm telling you, a picture worth 1,000 words. Okay, so anyway, he did hook me up. We hooked up, and he let me mentor him. Now I want you to think about a young person in your life. It can be a young Christian. It can be a young brother. It could be a family member. It could be a kid that's a neighbor. I'm talking about kids. We're dealing with a lot of things in this world because kids have lost their way. They don't know who they are. And they're choosing whoever will take them. And they're not just getting caught up in the streets, they're getting caught up in Percocet and Adderall and Xanax and date rape and drunk driving and homicide and suicide. We are losing a young generation. And we can't be so comfortable in our mediocrity that we're not willing to get our hands dirty to try to help some young people. And I'm not talking about just so we can grow the church. I'm talking about so we can save some kids. There are things you could do in Baltimore. Help some kids, I beg you. Help some least of these kids. It will change your life. Marquez changed my life. To date, he's spoken at 2 schools. He's spoken at the juvenile court. Tomorrow night, he's going to do that again to cops. He's spoken in front of the DJJ board. He's spoken at a special needs school. He's gotten in front of some really hard kids where he can kind of go gangster if he needs to. He calls me or texts me almost every day. He says, man, I love you. He says, bro, I miss you. He's like, bro, where are we going next? I said, you want to go to Chicago? He said, what for? I said, the National Gang Conference, me and you speaking in Chicago. He's like, yes. We're doing that in August. This kid is finding his superhero. And here's why. He wants to get well. He doesn't want to die in the streets, and he doesn't want to grow old in prison. He wants to be well, and he wants to have a shot to do something. And I made a promise to him that I was going to help him. And now I got a protege, and I've been praying for that. This is an answered prayer from me. I was like, I can't take brothers and sisters behind the wire. It will make my program ineffective. The kids will show out. If I took any of y'all in there, the kids would show out and it wouldn't be powerful. So I can't take you. I've been saying I've got to have kids that come out and transform that I can take back in. So in 3 weeks, we're having a big event at that prison. And it's last time I got an NBA guy to come out and be the speaker. This time, oh, you guys are freaking awesome. The first one over there, all the way to the right. All the way to the right, not left. There you go. Yeah. Hit that one up. Anyway, so this time, I'm not going to get some celebrity speaker. I'm getting Marquez. and he's going back to the prison where we met, and he's going to stand up and talk to those boys and tell them what he's doing. Do you understand the guts it takes to do what he's doing? He's found his superpower, and he's found his superhero. So I'm going to bring it all the way back that, do you really want to get well? And if so, what are you willing to do? If Mark West can do that, what could you do? He takes away excuses. What is it? Is it something you've been trying to change? Is it a habit? Is it I don't know what it is. I'm kind of tap dancing a little bit to see if we'll take one more shot, bro, but I don't want to, it's okay. I mean, if you can get it, that'd be cool. If not, it's all right. Yeah, just go back, man. This is kind of, I'm losing my track. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Don't worry. I ain't mad at you. We'll do it next week. Let's get well. That's what I'm trying to say. Let's get well together. Go ahead and be willing to suffer a little bit. You're going to suffer either way. One way or another, we suffer. We self-inflicted or we choose it. Let's choose it. Get a little bit uncomfortable. Try something you had never done before. Go to a place that makes you rely on the Spirit. I'm not talking about a dangerous place. I'm saying do something that you don't normally do. Get out of the rut of doing the same things every day. And it will change you. Your brain will change. Your mindset will change. And I promise you, you'll start seeing him in areas that you have not seen him. And he will begin to speak to you in ways, I don't know how he's going to work with you. You're going to find that out. But you got to figure out. You got to start working with him. Ask for the Holy Spirit. Pray over your prayers and ask the Spirit to get involved in this good fight. Walk with him throughout the day, and it might seem kind of strange, but begin to talk to him. Holy Spirit, I feel weird, but I'm asking you, man, will you show me yourself today? I mean, can you make yourself evident to me today? In people I meet, ideas that I have, convictions that pop up, goosebumps at the right time. I mean, will you please work with me? And then don't worry about how he does it. Don't overthink it. Don't start worrying about, does this really work? I don't know where the Bible says this. I feel weird. This sounds Pentecostal. I mean, just shut up in the head and ask him to get involved in your life and put aside your preconceived notions. Put aside how you think it's supposed to be done. God does not live in a box. We know a lot of what he said to do. There is a ton of stuff that he lets you figure out on your own. He gave you a brain for a reason. Don't leave it outside the door. Man, it's time for us to go to some places we haven't been, do some things we haven't done, break some barriers we've never broken through, and arrive at the place that we dreamed of, and then we do it again, okay? Now, I will keep going and going and going if I don't stop. Look at you. Oh, man. Whoever did that, God bless you. All right, that's the day that he got out. No, well, not that was after he got out. And that's one of my t-shirts. Mine says, hope is the new dope. That's one of my shirts. I have a little t-shirt line. And that one is called The Game Always Wins. The way I teach it with the kids is, if you go back to those streets, the streets are undefeated. You don't beat the streets ever. Like, keep going to Vegas. You might win big, go back. You might win again, go back. At some point, you will lose it all because the game always wins. Sin is like that. Dabble with it. Go back to it. Feed it a little bit, just a little bit. It always wins. The game always wins. And so that's how we remind them. I made a mistake because I put red on the chip there, so, all the bloods are fired up about it, so I take the red off. But anyway, so this is how we looked when he got out. Now hit the next one. That's him in front of the board of the Department of Juvenile Justice. And that is the commissioner at the end of that table. And Marquez is getting up there and telling his story. Go to the next one. That's him with the top cop in the state. Months before that, he was a young gang leader that was getting ready to go back to the street. He told me, he said, I don't want to be the man I was before I got here because that is a very bad man. His charges, violent. Okay, he's a dangerous kid. And now he's talking with the top cop in the state. Go to the next one. That's his beautiful mom, and she's here at the office. I want you to look at her joy. How do you think she feels about her boy? He's coming to see me tomorrow night. We're gonna be in the courthouse together. He drives 2 hours. Anytime I say, he's like, where you want me to go, bro? He always does what he says he's gonna do. His word means something. He's never let me down. And people are like, man, you're gonna trust a 19-year-old violent felon, gang leader. Are you nuts? Why would you trust a kid that you've only known for a few months? And I say, you know how you can find out if you can trust somebody? Trust them. You'll find out. So I'm gonna keep trusting this kid until he gives me a reason not to. And he has not given me a reason. He treats me like a boss, which made me feel kind of weird. He's like, man, big homie. And I call him little bro. You know, I mean, we've got this cool relationship. I think I'm the first male that's ever really, really cared about him. And I told him, I said, bro, now I've known him for less than a year. And I told him, I meant it with all my heart. I said, Marquez, I'm so proud of you, bro. I tell him all the time how proud I am of him. And I said, I'll die for you. And he said, I'll die for you, bro. Do you understand? In his world, that is everything. I'll die for you, bro. Now, it's up to me to be the kind of man that means it. And I would. And that's why I went and saw him that day when it was a little dangerous. Well, now he's changing. Look at the next one. This is one of my favorite pictures. He's on the other side of this picture. Here are a bunch of beautiful special needs kids. And he's telling his story in a way that they can understand with good language. And then I took him to another school and he had to go a little bit gangster, you know, to get these guys' attention. He can go there too. But I love that I'm just watching this young man do his thing that he said he wanted to do. At the end of this day, I go to the next one, we'll close with this one. He got up and stole the show at my big event. That's the commissioner, the director, the deputy commissioner, the head of communications for the DJJ. Those are all very important people behind him. He stole the show. He talked for about 5 minutes, standing ovation. It was the night of his life. He's having the biggest things that are happening to him every week are the best things that have ever happened to him in his life. And I'm so proud of them. So I'll close with this. After this night, I pulled him aside and I said, what'd you tell me that you wanted to do when you got out? And he goes, motivational speaker. And I said, what'd we do all day today? And he goes, motivational speaking. And I said, did you get paid to do that today? And he goes, I did. And I said, what does that make you, bro? And he said, a professional motivational speaker. It was the most beautiful thing. And I'm sitting here, I hope you're a little bit convicted and a lot of bit inspired, because you don't have an excuse. It's the strongest thing I'm ever going to say to y'all, because I love y'all. I'm always going to be kind of gentle. But you don't have an excuse. Now, I must say, do what you got to do. Whatever that excuse is, think about Marquez. Dude's willing to die, okay? All you're trying to do is go across the street and take some soup to a neighbor and meet him. Okay, which one is simple? You're trying to grow a Bible talk. I'm trying to get this beast of a system to quit kicking me out. What's your best excuse? Deal with it. It's time. And I hope you receive that with love, because it comes with love. But understand there's some juice underneath it. I mean, I feel passionate about this. So, Scott, I'm going to throw it back to you, and we'll see where we go from here. We got a few minutes. I don't know what you want to do with it.
Well, thank you, my brother. Always inspiring. Again, I've been on the treadmill with you. But
the tsunami. Oh my God.
We got some questions, I'm sure. We've got an audience, a live audience in the church building, and we have some people that have lined up to ask some questions. And if you have a question, you can put it in the chat. We're going to try to navigate both things the best we can. And so we're going to take it away at the building first, at Roland Park, and then any chat questions you have, I'll go ahead and ask those directly here.
Cool.
If you have a chat question, you want to throw it up while they're getting ready, I'll try to. Betty.
What you got?
So I'm having a difficult time.
Can't hear you.
Oh, that's on you.
Hold on. Let me see something.
In the meantime, the four hands. Am I saying that right? Four hands? I want to tell you that you are my go-to people tonight because you have been smiling the whole time. And I'm like, every time I'm wondering if you guys are into it at all, I just look at this sister and I'm like,
All right, they're ready.
Thank you.
Oh, it's.
uh-oh.
Wait a minute. She's on mute. Let me just take her off. There you go. Oh,
Oh,
there you go.
There we go. Cool.
how's that? No.
Oh, perfect.
I don't know, I have a really bad phone. That's a better phone than I have.
What's the question?
Okay, you can hear? So, I'm having my name is Betty Adams. Thank you so much for everything you're doing, and it's echoing, it's really annoying after a long day. But anyway, I'm having a difficult time finding prayers for myself, because I'm used to doing for everybody else. So I can think of 100,000 for other people, but
What do I need to pray for God to give me? Because I have everything that I need. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. And a friend of mine in New York told me that's because I struggle with self-care. So I'm still trying to figure out why did she say that? After reading the self-care book. But I don't know how to get past that part. I wrote down some flimsy stuff that it's in my circle of control. It was kind of a safe approach. But I just wanted to do something to not be stagnant. But I wanted to get some advice on how to get past that.
Yeah. I'm so glad you asked that. And I guarantee you there are people out there that are shaking their heads saying, me too. And let that show you, kind of maybe a hole in your prayer life. Because, God bless you, because you're praying for everybody but yourself. And that's something that inspires me. But it also can reveal to us that, man, there's a whole lot of things in my relationship with God that I'm not really dealing with. I can't answer for you, Betty, but what I'm saying is for me, if I don't know what I need to take me to another place spiritually, and I know what I can't say I know what you meant, but I think I know what you meant when you said, I've got everything I need. I would start there. It's like, really? I love that attitude. That sounds like grateful. It sounds like content. Contentment is good. God is good. I got everything I need. Why don't we drill deeper? Are there things in my life, heart that need to be healed? Please reveal them to me. Is there somebody in my life that I haven't forgiven? Please reveal that to me. Is there an opportunity for ministry that I'm missing? Have somebody show up in my life and make it obvious what you want me to do. Is there part of my character that I've just kind of gone to sleep on? And if I change that one thing, it could be self-care. Start loving yourself. And you write that down. Is, Lord, help me love myself and care for myself without feeling selfish. Just go ahead and drill down. What is it you need to know? And I respect the question, and I love it. It sounds like you're a selfless person, and I need to be more like you. This is a time to dig down. I bet you there's something God needs to heal. I bet you there's somebody that you need to forgive or be forgiven by. I bet you there's the dream in your heart that has not revealed itself yet. I bet you there are things in your character that he could tweak and adjust that would change the way you see the world. You just got to start asking him. And so hopefully that helps. And these are all Kit's goofy ideas. I always want to remind you of that. This is not thus saith the Lord. This is try this out. It really is powerful for me. But please do what you believe first. Okay, don't, you know what I'm saying.
Thanks. Thanks, Kate. I'm burnt out. When I listen to you,
You're doing a great job.
face.
No, that's not my interest. It's fine, it doesn't show anything, you just touch it, just point it.
Don't do anything, just point it
No,
out.
just point it out. He broke it.
So the problem is that we have an executive officer that's at home manipulating the Zoom. We have to shut him down.
Be kind of a lonely place because you feel like, man, ain't nobody out here with me. Am I feeling it pretty good?
I think that's the question, yeah.
Okay. I love asking God to bring people into my life and then going out and paying attention and to see who shows up. You could ask for a best friend that you have not met yet with no agenda, not so that you can baptize them. Let God worry about that. Let that happen, okay? And please don't get me wrong. There's a time to evangelize and bring them and ask them to study and do the thing. Do it. God bless you. But there's also a time to make a new friend. God, bring somebody into my life that I need. And not that I don't have all my brothers and sisters, I do. But help me find a new friend, and I want you to pick them. Bring them into my life. Make it obvious. I want somebody to stop me and get my attention and ask me a question. And I'm gonna be reminded of you. Does anybody believe, can you ask that kind of specific thing? I don't care. Say, put them in a red shirt. I don't care. Try to get too specific. I dare you. Watch the Holy Spirit start to play. So that's what I would do, sis. I mean, that's a great question. I think there are times when I needed to be lonely. I don't know if that's the right way to put it. I needed to be in that space like you're talking about, sis, where it's like, man, I'm out here on the edge and ain't nobody around me. It's me and him. You're in the safe confines of the church, which is awesome. You've got support system, whatever family, not sure if you're married, single, have kids, empty nest, whatever stage of life you're in. All that is very safe. I think most of us, for the most part, are in a pretty safe place. You're going to go to a place that's uncomfortable. So if loneliness is the issue, and I don't think you're saying you're lonely in the church. I think you're saying when you get out there, it's hard to find people that can relate. Play a little game and ask him to bring somebody in, and then start being a friend. Start making friends with people everywhere you go and see which one shines. You know, stuff like that. That's what I think.
We're going to go to the auditorium next with a question. I'm going to come back to Tamika LeGrier.
Okay, hi. Thank you, Mr. Kit. To make long story short, a good friend of mine, her daughter literally is going through a lot. She's very destructive, mental home, everything. I really want to help, but I am scared to death. I'm even scared of, I have my issue as well as a family. I'm even scared if I bring her to the house, she's still, she's everything. I cannot even pass that. Oh, I say I can help her from the distance, but I know that I need to do more. But the problem is I'm scared and I'm very faithless with, what will happen? What is this? What is that? So how can I overcome that? So I admire you, and I'm one of those that get the little, soup and take it, do soup and helping people. But the fact is, I'm just afraid of reaching out to this poor child because I don't know if I will or what happened. I'm really thinking about the negative stuff.
Great questions. Now, I'm gonna share my opinion, okay? And it could be my conviction, doesn't have to be yours. But I do want to say this. Err on the side of caution, okay? There, you've got a little antenna, and it goes off when there's something that isn't right. In the prisons, the antenna is very fine-tuned because you got to be aware of everything all the time. And so it's interesting, God just makes your antenna really fine-tuned so you feel things. But everybody that loves me keeps always worried about me not having situational awareness. Because I hang out with dangerous people and I get very comfortable in that space. And so my people that love me are like, bro, I know you love them and I know you believe in them, but you've got to remember who you're around, especially my law enforcement friends. So I'm asking you not to make that mistake, okay? If you're going to get into some areas, and I am going to go back to your question, but let's say you are going to serve in a homeless ministry. Do it right. It needs to be in a group. It needs to be in a safe place. There needs to be a real plan. You just don't go up under a bridge and start talking to the dude, because he might be desperate for whatever it is that he needs. And desperation leads to a lot of bad things, okay? So I apologize that probably I just got around to saying that, but I want you to trust your instincts, okay? So what I'm hearing is this beautiful, young person is unstable, and so I don't think your home is probably the best way to help her. Unless, I don't know the family situation and all that. I'm not saying never, but it sounds like that's something that you're kind of worried about. Hey, listen to the Spirit, man. I mean, I think he's talking to you. I mean, you don't want to get into a situation where something bad happens or something, they hurt themselves or they can't resist temptation. I mean, you got to be careful about that. So there might be a neutral turf, whether it be the mental home or whether it be the home where they stay. I would probably maybe take a friend, or somebody that is really good at something like this. And then I would encourage you just to, if you can, just sit with her. Just be with her. Be kind. And if she is having a very hard day, just be with her. And if it's time to go, just lovingly go. Just show up. And don't have an agenda. And let God, and pray a prayer like, please help her be in a very, very calm state when we spend time together today. Please give me wisdom so I need to know if I need to leave, because what's most important is your safety and the well-being of that person. So you want to keep your brain in check, but you're also I'm telling you, kindness and be still and be quiet can do amazing things for unstable people, because everybody is all agitated around them, which is understandable because it's kind of scary when people are very unpredictable, impulsive, or maybe, having some really intense going on in their head. So anyway, I mean, that's what I think. I mean, there's probably a lot of details that we didn't cover, but main thing is trust the Spirit. And if need be, no, not if need be. When everybody's trying these new things, don't say, I'm going to go do it because, Kit challenged us. No, go get some advice. I mean, really, don't go do something stupid and say, Kit said it. You're going to get me in trouble. Great question.
Yeah, I'm going to go, that's a fantastic answer, to Mika LeGrier, and then we're going to take a question from the chat.
Okay.
Good evening. I had a question. You kind of mentioned neuroplasticity earlier and retraining the brain. I teach high school. I teach seniors. You can tell by the tiredness in my face. And the challenge that I have, I teach a very poor population of kids, lots of trauma. I've never had a group of kids who face this much death, homelessness, all those things that I'm sure you're familiar with. So my two-part question is, I'm really good. The feedback I got from my principal actually is that I clearly feel deeply, but it doesn't always translate to the kids. And then also in helping them, what are some things or tips in helping them to transform their own thinking when I am trying to hold them, because this is clearly my ministry, I'm trying to hold them accountable, but they don't believe that they can do more or it's worth doing more because, I might not live to see 22 anyway. And so, you got to battle against those things. So how can I help in a practical way shift that mindset?
Yeah, great. And thank you for your service. And what my answer is probably going to be a little different. Like I'll tell you what I would do, and then you've got boundaries as a teacher. I'm not talking about boundaries. Like I'm just saying, you're with those kids every day. You're an authority figure, and so I could probably do some things that a little different. But I'll tell you kind of just the spirit of what I do. When I go to the alternative school on Tuesdays, I've got a class of kids that I'm there to teach, but I always get there about 10 minutes early. And I go around, all the teachers, they know me, they don't care. I just go and I knock on the door and I open the door because there's kids that I've been with before or kids that I'm just getting to know. And so I go around, and it's an alternative school, so there's only, 6, 8, 10 kids in the room, whatever. And when I stick my head in, the ones I know go, "Oh, Mr. Kit," and I go in and I dap people up, and then I go around to every one of the kids and I say, "What's up, man? What's up?" And I build a light, fun relationship with them. And then I start telling them things that they want to hear, whether they tell you or not. And like one girl, her name is Miracle, and she's a handful, and she's always getting in trouble, but she really, really responds to me well. And so I'll stop by and say, "Miracle, how you using that big brain? Because I know how smart you are. Come here, tell me what you did today." And then she'll come over and say, "Well, Ken got in trouble, da 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 da." And I'll say, "You know what? I believe in you. You're awesome." And then I go to the next one. And I'm gonna go to this little girl, and her name's Jasmine, and she's so delicate. I mean, she's tiny, and she's just so shy, and she probably, is a little bit, there's a reason she's there. I mean, it's gotta be terrifying being her. She's the most special person that I go to see, and I always come over and I make my energy come down, and I get on her level, and I say, "Jasmine, you're my favorite person to come and see. How you doing?" And so it's very gentle with her. And then I go see one of my guys, and he's just a young knucklehead, and I'll go in there and I'll come up behind him and bump him, and he'll look around, and I'll be like, "What's up, man?" And then he taps me up, big hug, and I'll look him in the eye and say, "Are you doing good?" And he'll be like, "Yeah, Mr. Kid, I am." "Are you for real? Because I expect a lot of you, man. I mean, you got a big brain, you're talented. Are you doing good?" And it'll say, I am, Mr. Kid." So you see how those are 3 totally different responses. And so if I was a teacher, which I am, but I get to teach in a whole lot of different places, I'm going to try to mold, the really, really tough kids. Man, I figure out a way to get near them, and I always say this: "You're a good man. You're a good man." They know I'm going to say it. "You're a good dude, man. I love you, bro. You're good. You're a good dude." I am telling them things that they don't believe, that they've never heard from somebody that looks like me, meaning an adult. And I'm trying to get them to start looking forward to seeing me because I have something new for them. And then when I do have to straighten them sometimes, like, "Hey, come on now, be respectful." They're like, "Whoop." You see what I'm saying? So it's not all goofy all the time. I could go on, but that's just kind of what came to my mind is, affirm them and give each kid what you believe that they need from you in a way that's very teacherly. That's what I would say.
Thank you.
Awesome. Last question for tonight is from Leon Bridges from our chat. So my impossible prayer is to baptize my son, my parents, my sisters, my brother-in-law, and my father-in-law. This request is truly impossible. Am I wrong to laugh as Sarah did when she doubted that God would give her children at 100? Should I push to believe without doubting?
Did you got to ask that?
I love the question, and I love your heart. I mean, that's like, golly, that is sacred. My son, my parents, my sisters, my brother-in-law, my father-in-law. Okay, this is your band of family that you would die for. Okay, so this is a sacred group of people. And, the question is it wrong to laugh? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, if that's how you feel, laugh. Talk to him. Tell him that. You probably do, but it's just like, hey, I'm having a hard time even believing what I'm praying. So I'm kind of like, I feel like Sarah, but you love Sarah. So, I don't know. Help me out. And then I might start doing fun things like this. I want you to give me a sign that my father-in-law is starting to open up a little bit. And I'm not going to ask, I'm just going to shut up after that. I'm not even going to think about it again and then see what happens. I'm going to pray something special for my son. And I'm just going to try to start getting, started seeing miracles that I haven't seen. Help me notice things in my brothers and sisters. Help me believe that this is even possible because I'm not believing it. You see what I'm saying? So you just be real. And I think that's something that God allowed me to do. And I'll close with this. It's this last question, but I love it. Keep them on your thing. And I need to say this. I'm not saying don't put other people on there. Do make a whole list on another page for all the miracles you want for other people. And I'm telling you, they will happen. But I just want you to have a special list that's going to be an internal thing, right? And here's what I'll leave you with. It's like when I was out there on my run and I shook my fist at God. And I said, leave me alone. I mean, I'm standing out on my balcony of my little 800 square foot apartment, kicked out of my house in the middle of a divorce, seeing my kids on the weekend, feeling sorry for myself, mad at y'all, drinking heavy every night to stop the pain. Okay, that's the scenario. And I'm out under the stars and I'm like, is this how it works? I give you 15 years, the best years of my life, and you go do me like this? Fine. I told you, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to see your people. I'm not going to read your book. I'm not even going to try to be good. Do what you got to do. And I promise you that was the prayer. And I think it was the most significant prayer of my life because I was being gut level, ugly honest. And God did not wince. And I tried to run from him and he was faster, man. And I tried to get away and he was there, man. I'm going to tell you some stories, not tonight, where he just kept coming. And I fell in love with a God that I didn't know. And I call him the divine stalker. See, we live in this world where it's like, oh, they quit coming to church. You know, yeah, they should, maybe they did. But you think that, I mean, God is chasing them. Let me tell you, for real, he is chasing your father-in-law. He is chasing your son and daughter. He is chasing your brothers and sisters and your parents like you don't even know, because he chased me. And I'd be in a club and he'd figure out how to be there. I'd be in the depths of darkness and then something would happen. I'd be high as a kite, like, boom. And he would not leave me alone. And now I see the parable of the prodigal son different. I always preached it where the father is sitting on the porch and he's waiting every day and he's waiting for his son to come back. And that's the way I've always seen it. Well, now after my journey, coming home and making peace with the Father and saying, I've sinned against heaven, against earth. I'm not worthy to be called one of your sons. Make me a hired hand. Like really that kind of heart. Now I see that the Father, he traveled over land and sea. And he was always there. When that boy was doing things he shouldn't have done, his father was there. When he was in a dangerous place, his father was watching. He was waiting for him to come to his senses on his own. Every bit of that foolishness, the father, I think, was there, right there, and just waiting for the son to get to the point where he said, I'm going to go home. And then the father followed him home. And then he was there as if he had been there the whole time. That's my kooky little world, the divine stalker. Don't think he lets people go just because they don't see things the way we do for a second. He's fierce in his love. And chase people that have left. They need it, man. Be their friends. But I'm telling you, God is going to have his way. And I pray for your families. I pray for your impossible prayers. I pray for just this beautiful family. Thank you for listening to my rambling. And I'm already looking forward to next week. I hope we have some miracles we find this week. So, Scott, you're the man. I love you. Thank you. I'm all in.
Amen. Kit, thank you. I'm all in, my brother. I'm looking forward to next week and the week after that. Thanks everybody for being on the call. We're going to have Leon close us out with a prayer. And so, Leon, take it away and close us out. And we'll see everybody next Wednesday.
Okay. Scott, can you hear me okay? Father God, thank you so much for just how much you're inspiring us and challenging us. God, we want our faith to be strong. We want to trust in you. We don't want to be like the Israelites when they were out in the desert with Moses and Aaron and Caleb and how a whole generation you said was not going to make it into the promised land just because of their doubt, God. We want to be people of faith. And God, we look at all these examples in the Bible and God, I'm afraid to be like Sarah. I'm like, that's crazy. It's not going to happen. But I definitely don't want to be, God, you said that those people despised you in the desert because they didn't trust you. Because we know, God, your innate nature is incredible. You glorify yourself because you are worthy of being glorified, God. Your presence is, you are faithful. You are trusting. God, we can trust in you. And God, that's your very nature. You've rescued us over and over again, God. And to doubt you, God, it seems shameful. But God, I pray that you will help us to grow as the children that we are, so that our faith will grow to a whole new level now. Thank you so much, God, for just challenging us. I'm inspired because my father did come over and said, Leon, I'm really upset with my church. And I sat there and I'm like, I don't know what